Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Sa Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Brahmacharine Nirvishesha Yavari Pasadya Dishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauran Nitai Jaya Gauran Nitai Jaya Gauran Nitai Jaya Gauran Nitai Jaya Nitai Satchishundara Nitai Satchishundara Nitai Satchishundara Nitai Satchishundara Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Nitai Sachi Sundarati ki jai. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, welcome. Amit, welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gītā, Chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, Text 13. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vipakashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidyakar kartaram avyayam Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vipakashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidyakartaram avyayam. And once more, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vipakashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidyakartaram avyayam. I just realized very often.
Okay, Prabhu.
I just chanted the Sanskrit. I just realized very often.
Yes.
I do quote the first two lines. I struggled a bit with the last two lines, so never the whole verse. Just two lines. Okay. So, Amit, do you want to read us a translation, please? Translation.
According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
Perfect.
The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him. Everything is sustained by him, and everything after annihilation rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called Sastriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance. And the Sudras or laborer class are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna did not belong to any of these divisions because he is not one of the conditional souls, a section of whom forms human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of the particular man towards work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life according to different modes of material nature are described in the 18th chapter of this book. The person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas, because the Brahmana, by quality, is supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. Most of them approach the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna, but only a man who transcends the limited knowledge of the Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansion of Krishna, namely Rama, Nirishima, Nishima, Vara, etc.
Varaha.
Varaha. However, as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider division of community, nation, or species.
Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Amit. Amagenadhimirandasya Gananchana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadadi Swabadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Zakrachadham Zahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parichana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatapate Gopisha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the translation again. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And also I am the creator of this system. You should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So, three modes of material nature. We surely know the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and mixture between all of them. Nobody is in pure goodness. In fact, pure goodness does not exist in the material world. Pure goodness is called Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha means pure. Sattva, goodness. So, Shuddha Sattva, that exists in the spiritual world. It's a spiritual dimension. In this material world, there's always a mixture. Even someone in the mode of goodness, a Brahmana, is supposed to be in the mode of goodness. Otherwise, he's not a Brahmana. And even there are some tinges of passion and perhaps even ignorance. Tamaguna is a mode of ignorance. Raja Gun, Guna Gun, we say, is a mode of passion, and Sattva Gun is a mode of goodness. All these different modes have, of course, their own individual characteristics. One may think that the mode of goodness is the topmost. And it is. Unless we come to the mode of goodness, we cannot really become transcendental, cannot step beyond the three modes of material nature. So the mode of goodness is a stepping stone. We know when there is a little stream, we want to cross over without getting our feet wet. People before us have crossed over that little stream, and they put some stones to, like a bridge. So each half a meter there is a stone, which is above the water. So we're walking on the stones, keeping our balance and crossing that little stream. So these stones are called stepping stones. We step over that little stream by stepping on these stepping stones. So the mode of goodness is a stepping stone to what? To the spiritual, transcendental platform to Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, on the spiritual platform. So, but it has been observed that people in the mode of goodness, the symptoms of the mode of goodness are contentment, good education, peacefulness of mind, cleanliness. These are all good qualities. But these are still material. The mode of goodness is still material. Only pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, that is spiritual. So it has been observed that someone can be in the mode of goodness due to many pious activities in this and past life. And there is not much of an impetus of moving further, of getting to the spiritual platform, of becoming Krishna conscious. Why? Because people are content in the mode of goodness. There is no anxiety, not too much at least, and not too much lamentation. And there is enough a financial basis. One doesn't have to worry about that. There is good education, a good job. So in that mode of goodness, they generally don't have an impetus to become Krishna conscious because they think, I'm all right, I'm well situated, I'm fairly happy, so life is very pleasant, I have plenty of money, I can enjoy various types of sense gratification. So that's a bit of a danger in the mode of goodness. But in the mode of passion, this is not a very good mode, because it means just very passionate, running from here to there, where is money, where is money? And our whole society is in the mode of passion and ignorance, and passion building. Amrita Radhe Mataji, welcome, Hare Krishna. We're discussing the verse Chaturvarnyam Maya Sheshtam. We're just speaking about the three modes of material nature.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So our whole society is in the mode of passion. Skyscrapers and building and constantly economic development. Everything is measured by GDP, gross domestic product. And if a country is not growing the GDP, they are seen as underdeveloped, they are seen as retarded, they are seen as a third world country. And only those whose GDP is constantly increasing 2% or more, economic activity, so much so that in the world, China has a lot of economic activity, America has a lot of economic. So the Western world has a lot of economic activity, measured in GDP, measured in the mode of passion. All of that is a mode of passion. Never satisfied, always more and more and more, development. So that's a mode of passion. It's a mode of ignorance, of course, that is abominable. It's just overcome by sleeping, by taking drugs, by total ignorance, almost on the level of an animal. I mentioned on Sunday, last Sunday, when you drive through the countryside at the moment, You see a lot of sheep in certain areas, certainly. Sheep everywhere, wherever you look. There are big meadows, green, nice, and so many sheep everywhere. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands. And they have all young children. And all what they're doing all day long, I have observed them. They're cute little creatures. Nice. One almost want to hug them. But all what they're doing all day long is just eating. They're just eating, constantly eating machine. And then they're resting, lying down and resting a bit, sitting down under a tree in a flock together, and then getting offspring, sex life, getting offspring. And some months, a bit over a month ago, say, had little, very cute little lambs. And thus these lambs have grown quite teenagers, what could say. And what's they doing all day long? They're also eating. They're eating, passing stools, laying down, and sleeping at night. And that's all. Until the time is coming, they are big and fat, and they're taken to the slaughterhouse and killed. So that's a mode of ignorance. That's a mode of ignorance. Just eating, sleeping, mating, or sex life, and fighting. And so fighting they do also. Between them, there is a certain hierarchy and a certain order. And some are higher up in that order, some are lower. And if they dare to cross that line, they are bullied, chased away. So there is a bit of fighting as well. So that's a mode of ignorance: eating, sleeping, mating, and fighting. So if we're on that level, then we are that's a consciousness of an animal. So these are the modes of material nature. Sometimes when people hear about these divisions, Krishna says here, these divisions, according to the modes of nature, guna karma, vibhagashaha, and the work ascribed to them, so there is certain work ascribed to them, as we heard from Srila Prabhupada. In the mode of goodness, the work ascribed to someone in the mode of goodness is he is working as a brahmana, a teacher, an intellectual. And someone in the mode of passion, his work is administrative, in government, in soldier, fighter, like Arjuna. These are all kshatriyas and the mode of passion. And then we have the Vaishyas in a mixed mode, a mix between passion and ignorance. The Vaishya is a mercantile class. And finally, we have the Shudras, who are in the mode of tamagun, of ignorance. And they're just providing labor for others. So that is a work ascribed to the four divisions in human society. And Krishna says, I created this division. So sometimes people, when they hear about that, they say, oh, that's a caste system. And the caste system has so many negatives attached to it. People describe it's horrible. If someone is in the lower caste, he can never rise up to the higher caste. And if one is so unfortunate he is born in a lower caste, that's it for the rest of his life. But that is not, as Krishna is saying here in Bhagavad Gītā, that's an aberration. Because Krishna doesn't say, according to your birth, you are either a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. You're divided in these four classes, according to your birth. Krishna doesn't say that. According to the three modes of material nature, guna and karma, Karma according to how one acts, or as Krishna says, and the work is ascribed to them. So two things. So how one is situated in the three modes of material nature, and how one is working in what capacity. This determines if he's a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or Shudra. So that means someone may be born in a Shudra family, in the mode of ignorance, but somehow or other, he elevates himself by good association, and he moves up to the mode of passion and goodness, although born in a Shudra family, but he is in the mode of goodness, according to the three gunas, the modes of material nature. So that is a qualification to be a Brahmana, but not the only one. He needs to also work like that. It's no good to be in the mode of goodness and do the work of a Shudra. That is contradicting each other. So Krishna says, according to the modes and according to the work ascribed to them. So if one is in the mode of goodness, his profession will be a teacher, an intellectual. Then both criteria are met in the mode of goodness, and he is working in the mode of goodness. Then he will be recognized as a Brahmana. The same with a Kshatriya, and the same with a Vaishya, and the same with a Shudra. Though this means the caste system is according to birth, but Krishna's system, which he created, these divisions are according to guna and karma, according to the modes one is situated in and according to the work one is doing. How does that happen? That caste system, which is very much despised in India and still existing, that came about very easily understandable. Originally, if the son of a Brahmana, he was educated, he was trained by his father to also be a Brahmana, he was trained. The father made sure the son is regulated in his habits, he is clean, he studies the scriptures, and so on. Not that long time ago. It used to be like that. Certainly 500 years ago, at the time of Lord Chaitanya. So then he was born in a Brahmana family, and he was trained as a Brahmana. So therefore, by birth and by the modes of nature, and by the work he was doing, he was qualifying on all counts. But then this system degenerated in due course of time. Like everything degenerates in this world. Something can be wonderful, pure, and nice, and in due course of time, it degenerates by the forces of time and material nature. So in due course of time, it happens so that training of working in the mode of goodness and that training of working like a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya that was not given anymore. But while the sons and daughters didn't have the qualification anymore, they still claimed on account of birth, I'm a Brahmana, I'm a Kshatriya, a Vaishya. They still claimed that, which was correct when the training was given. Then the birth and the training together, yes, that was a Brahmana. But if the training is missing and only the birth, then he's not a Brahmana anymore. He may be born in a Brahmana family, but he is actually a Shudra. Degenerated. So that is a misconception, which may have been true by birth and by qualification some time in the past. It is not in most cases, not in all cases, in most cases, this is not true anymore. So we should clearly understand, Krishna is not saying Chaturvarnyam, he's not saying, he's saying guna karma. He's not saying janma karma, by birth and by the work. That's not what this verse says. It doesn't say janma karma vipakasha. It says guna karma vipakasha. By the modes of nature, not by janma, by birth. So that's very important. This we should know clearly, because we will easily be coming across or being involved in a conversation where people speaking about the caste system and that take it as janma, by birth. Okay, examples. Some long time back, I remember doing some Harinam on Belgrave area. It's just all people from an Indian background. And some gentleman came closer to us while we chanted Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he's standing there and smiling, holding his cigarette in his hand. And then he says, I'm also a Brahmana. I'm also a Brahmana. So he stands, I'm also a Brahmana, holding his cigarette. A Brahmana doesn't smoke, no intoxication. So he's standing there, I'm also a Brahmana. What he is really saying, I'm born in a Brahmana family. But by qualification, he's not a Brahmana, he's fallen. Fallen from the pure platform of goodness. A Brahmana doesn't smoke. A Brahmana doesn't take any intoxication. A Brahmana is in knowledge. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't eat meat, fish, eggs, and he doesn't indulge in illicit sexual connections with women. That's a Brahmana. Not someone who stands there, is born in a Brahmana family and smokes a cigarette. I'm also a Brahmana. So this is a practical example. And still many today say, are proud of being a Brahmana or Kshatriya, but their activities are anything but. So that is the arguments when we speak with someone who is claiming by birth, janma karma, no, guna karma, that we should remember. So the other part of that verse, despite Krishna saying, I am the creator of this system, so it must be good. The original system, not the generated system. So original system, Krishna has created it. Because every society needs some divisions. One may question that. today. We said, no, we want a classless society. So communists tried to create a classless society, communism, classless society. Everybody comes down to the platform of a Shudra, of a worker. It's a workers' party. Everybody is a worker. But in due course of time, we have seen in communist countries, in communist Russia, then those functionaries, those party bosses, they may have started on the same level as the ordinary worker, but in due course of time, they created some special facilities for themselves. They were driving big cars, they were richer than the ordinary worker, and they had more holidays and enjoyed an elevated position. So it didn't work. A classless society. Everybody is a Shudra, everybody is a worker. Why doesn't it work? Why is always some section of society claiming special privileges? Because these modes of nature and the work we like to do is deeply ingrained in us, even from previous lifetimes. So we have, according to our previous karma, we situated somewhere in the three modes of material nature from childhood on. Of course, that can be changed by training. And Srila Prabhupada has trained his disciples. And I remember a class in Umayapur when I was there in 76. He said, we want to create a class of brahmanas. That's not the only occasion, on many other occasions. We want to create brahmanas. Brahmanas are the intellectual. Brahmanas are the head of society, the leaders of society. Traditionally, the brahmanas were the leaders. Even the kings, who are the kshatriyas, the administrators of the state, like the Yudhishthir Maharaj, like the great kings of the past, or Maharaj Bharat, or any of the great Kshatriya kings, they weren't the top of society that could do whatever they wanted to do. No. They had Brahmins as advisory council. So Brahmins were higher than those kings and Kshatriyas. So therefore, those Brahmins are the leaders, the true leaders of society. They advise the king, no, don't do like that, because the kings or the administrators or the leaders nowadays, they must have some advisors. So those leaders nowadays, they would be well advised to take advice from true brahmanas. But there are no brahmanas in society nowadays, hardly any. And those who are intellectuals, they ending up working like Shudras. So they're not classified as brahmanas. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, brahmanas are the head of society. And if society doesn't have any head, then we are in big trouble. We may be able to do without feet or even without arms, but the body cannot do without the head. In fact, it is compared. As Brahmanas are the head of society, the Kshatriyas are the arms of society, the Vaishyas are the belly, because the Vaishyas are producing, they're getting the economy going, they're producing food grains and producing so many things. And the Shudras are the legs of society, they running around and helping everyone, working for everyone. So a society without a head is doomed. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, we want to create some brahmanas, exemplary human beings. Exemplary. Why exemplary? Because they have principles, ethical and moral, and they have a spotless character. Brahmanas must have a spotless character. And in that capacity, and they have knowledge, they can advise, not in the short term. They have a long-term vision. And their advice will ultimately be how to elevate the people in general to eventually go back home to Godhead. That's a Brahmana's duty, to teach people in general. But where do we have those Brahmanas today who are concerned that everybody is going, it will be elevated in spiritual knowledge and ultimately not take birth again? No, it doesn't exist. Srila Prabhupada says, there will come a time when people are so disillusioned, and this is very appropriate. So if there are elections coming up, and not only in this country, in many other countries, the time will come when people turning to devotees and want them as leaders in society. Why? Because they can see devotees have a spotless character. But that time will come, because people with their so-called leaders, they are always cheated. This party or that party, they cheated and they lied to, and so people will be people in general will be fed up. And they want some leaders with impeccable character. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to train a class of people, devotees with impeccable character. And to advance in Krishna consciousness means one becomes a person of impeccable character. Already devotees have a very high character. They don't kill, they don't eat meat, they don't engage in illicit sexual activities, they don't gamble, and they don't take any intoxication. That is already a very high character, because the whole society is just doing the opposite. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life. Everybody basically is engaged in illicit sexual activities. Most people are intoxicated in one way or the other, either by tea, by coffee, by alcohol, or drugs, everywhere. American societies are taking this heavy opiates and cocaine in higher circles of society. So drugs are everywhere. How can these people be leaders in society? They can't. So real leaders are of impeccable character, no intoxication. They don't engage in these sinful activities. So it is important for a society to have these divisions. Back to the classless society, it doesn't work. Because by nature, we are in a certain mode of nature, goodness, passion, or ignorance, and we're doing a certain type of work. So is there any example of a classless society? No. They tried, didn't work out. So in our modern society, we see divisions as well. There are intellectuals, teachers, who are supposed to be Brahmins. There is a large number of administrative individuals, not only soldiers, administrators of the state, takes a whole civil service. These are supposed to be the Kshatriyas. Since the Vaishyas is a totally overblown class in society, these are the business people. And the farmers are included. They're supposed to protect the cows. They don't, because they're fallen. A true Vaishya is protecting Vaishya, and cow protection goes hand in hand. No killing of cows. Impossible. Unimaginable. You kill a cow or any other animal, you're not a Vaishya. Because a Vaishya understands these animals are under my shelter and I have to give them protection. So this class is very predominant, but they're all sinful, Vaishyas. And then we have the Shudras, which are the workers. The workers in industry, the workers in road work, and so on, in many ways. Technicians also, workers. So these divisions are already there in every society. We find some intellectuals, we find some administrators and civil servants, we find some business people, and we find some ordinary workers everywhere. When children are born, we test them. I don't know if you have done that, Amrita Radhamataji, but the first grain eating ceremony, when the child has the first grains, there's a samskara, there is a ceremony when someone, guru or some devotees, performing this samskara and feeding the child the first grains. And along with that, Tejas is not yet in that league. Along with that, there is an interesting ceremony performed to determine the nature and the tendency of the child. The tendency of the child. That's in Indian societies, that's very well known. And devotees and most people do this kind of ceremony and samskara. You put the holy Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gītā in one corner of the room, and you put some glittering coins in a plate or something in the other direction. And then the children are usually at that age, they're crawling. And then we let them crawl. What's attracting them? That's the idea. Are they going for the book, for the holy book, or are they going for the coins? If they're going for the books, they have Brahminical tendencies. If they're going to the coins, they have some Vaishya tendencies. So these ceremonies, these samskaras are performed and should be performed. It's very nice. Invite devotees and kirtan and a bit of talking and doing this ceremony and then feeding everyone prasadam. So our argument is these divisions have been created by Krishna, and our own natures are in these divisions. And one can elevate oneself from one division, from one mode of nature to another mode of nature. In fact, if one gets trained in Krishna consciousness, he immediately comes to the platform of goodness. Do we have any question so far? Amrita Radhamataji.
No, Prabhu, just that I think in
Can you come a bit closer to your microphone?
I mean, I just remembered that there's one verse from the Shastras which says, Kalau Shudra Sambhava, that everybody is born a Shudra in the age of Kali, and as you were saying, depending upon his training, they go up and down the societal order.
So what's your question?
No, I don't have a question. I just kind of added some content.
Yes, that means society is so degenerated in this age of Kali that everybody is born as a Kala Shudra Sambhavan, as you mentioned. Everybody is born as a Shudra. Everybody is born in the mode of ignorance and not real Brahmanas anymore. But by training in this Krishna consciousness movement, one can be elevated from that Shudra ignorance platform to the highest platform of goodness. Now, going a little bit further, what is a Vaishnava? A Vaishnava is a fifth class. A Vaishnava, or a Krishna conscious person. Vaishnava means Vishnu. He is a servant of Vishnu, means Krishna. So a Vaishnava, a Vishnu worshipper, a Krishna worshipper, he is above the four divisions of society because he knows Krishna and has developed a relationship to Krishna. So automatically he is in the mode of goodness or pure goodness, as a Vaishnava, pure goodness, a Krishna conscious person. So one might think that the Brahmana class is the highest in society. No. One has to become Krishna conscious, and then one is a Vaishnava, above all the four other divisions. And then we have, of course, a Vaishnava, because guna karma. If a Vaishnava, well, let's take an example. Srila Prabhupada, he showed his disciples how to sweep the floor, how to properly clean a pot. Does that mean Srila Prabhupada has become a Shudra because he is wiping the floor? And wiping the floor means really not the dirty mop which we all use. We don't have to bend down and then a bucket with water for the whole house, perhaps. So that is a modern way of spreading the dirt. In a temple, the proper way, and Srila Prabhupada showed that, is to take the cloth and a bucket of water and down on one's knees, and one cleans the floor with the cloth on one's knees from one part, and then rinsing again in the bucket the cloth and wringing it out. And that is a proper way of cleaning, and then changing the water as often as possible as well. So not spreading the dirt. So Srila Prabhupada was showing his disciples how to clean the floor. So Srila Prabhupada has become a Shudra. He's doing the sweeping, cleaning the floor is an activity of a Shudra. No, not like that. A Vaishnava, a devotee, can perform any activities. He's above the four divisions of society. A devotee may become a political leader. It's not that he has become a Kshatriya. No, he's still a Vaishnava. He's above the divisions. A devotee can engage in so many different activities, but his consciousness is always fixed on Vishnu. Well, that's important to note, the position of a Vaishnava. And here Srila Prabhupada writes, of course, that it doesn't mean Krishna is under these divisions as well. Some people cannot figure out who is Krishna. Well, what is he? He was tending the cows in Vrindavan. Or he is a Vaishya. He's a farmer. He's a simple coward. Which these are activities of the cowards, of tending the cows, protecting the cows, agriculture, working on the land. And then Krishna is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So what is he? Is he a Kshatriya now? So people are puzzled. But as Krishna, as a devotee, he can engage in any of the activities. He's transcendental too. He can play the role of a Vaishya. He can play the role of a Kshatriya. Doesn't matter. So here Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions. Because why? He's not one of the conditioned souls, a section of which form the human society. And here's a very interesting point Srila Prabhupada makes. Human society is similar to any other animal society. Because we eat, we sleep, we engage in sexual activities, and we fight. And the animals doing the same thing. So what's the difference? So here Srila Prabhupada writes, human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for a systematic development of Krishna consciousness. So here we're getting why Krishna has created this system, to elevate people in general from the animal status and for a systematic development of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if people are not following this Varnashram system, then they're just following the dictate of their senses. They are not really very different from the animal society. If a human society is just after eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, fighting, then that is animal consciousness. So this Varnashram has been created by Krishna to elevate the people to a higher status of consciousness and systematic to develop Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the tendency of a particular man towards work is determined by the modes of material nature, which he has acquired. Yes, there is a tendency. Everybody has a tendency for some kind of work. And these modes of material nature, which he has acquired from birth, from his previous birth. We are all born in a particular mode of nature. And the expert astrologer, he can determine what are the qualities of the child. Or as we have explained, the child goes for the book or for the coins. What are the qualities? What mode of nature it has been acquired? And then Srila Prabhupada makes, of course, the point that the person in Krishna consciousness, however, is even above the Brahmanas. Because a Brahmana by quality is supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. That is Brahman. No Brahman. And then Srila Prabhupada says most of them approach the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna, but only a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana. Limited knowledge. Because if that Brahmana does not understand Krishna fully, then that is limited knowledge. And if someone fully understands Krishna, is fully Krishna conscious, and that's a devotee, that's a Vaishnava. And then Srila Prabhupada carries on. So one may have limited knowledge as a Brahmana. And if he reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, he becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. So if that knowledge of a Brahmana grows and he understands the position of Krishna and he becomes a devotee, then he's elevated to the platform of a Vaishnava, a Vishnu worshipper. And that includes also the different expansions, Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and so on. But, important point, Krishna is transcendental to this system. He has created this system, but he is not under this system. And a devotee is also not under this system. A pure devotee is not subject to the system. And as we know, when Lord Chaitanya talked with Ramananda Rai, Lord Chaitanya wanted to churn out that knowledge which is the most beneficial in human society. So he asked Ramananda Rai, what is the most beneficial for human society? So Ramananda Rai's starting point was Varnashram Dharma. The Varnas and the Ashrams, to follow that system which we're discussing tonight. To follow that system of Varnas, of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and of Ashramas as well. So Varnashram is both. It's 4 divisions as we're discussing tonight in this verse, but there is another 4 divisions or stages of life. One is either a brahmachari, one is a householder, or one is a vanaprashta, a retired person, or one is a sannyasi, a renounced person. So these 4 divisions by activities, by karma, according to the modes of nature, and these 4 divisions of stages of life, they go hand in hand. So brahmachari means a student. Everybody has been a student at one point. Student life. But a special student life. A student who is trained by a brahmana or by his spiritual master to control his senses. Brahmachari means celibacy. From small childhood on, the child is trained in celibacy. Up till, ideally, the age of 25. Then, if he has a tendency towards marriage, then traditionally, this may not be true exactly today, but traditionally then he can be married and become a householder. And some other students who don't have a tendency, who have learned to control their sex drive or have a very low sex drive, they don't feel the need of getting married. They're quite happy in the celibate life. Of course, that's all topsy-turvy today. Children already engage in sex life with 14 years and younger. Our society has degenerated so much. Where is that in some good families, maybe that still exists, that youngsters are trained to be celibate, or of some ashrams and gurus, and certainly in our Krishna conscious society, the children brought up as brahmachari. If someone has been brought up celibate as brahmachari, and not only celibacy, and that is just one point, but also not meat eating and fish and eggs, and not gambling and no intoxication, that goes without saying. If someone has been brought up from small childhood with these restrictions, then he becomes a very good householder, because he is able to control his senses. Very good householder. If he decides so to enter the griha, the householder life, then even in householder life, he's not swept away by his sex desires and sex drive and so many other desires. He can control his desires because he has been trained. He has learned it from small childhood on, 5 years on. He has learned it. And that means he is a very good householder. And then one does not stay a householder for eternity. Also, householders think it's impossible to give up my griha. It's impossible. And Srila Prabhupada thought, at one point, he says, the idea of retiring from family life, it was horrible. The idea of taking sannyas, it was unthinkable, impossible. And we might find that too. How can we renounce our family ties? It's impossible. All lifelong, for the major part of our life, we have been living as householders. We have so much affection for family and children and grandchildren and friends. How can we leave that behind? But eventually we must leave it behind. And we should not stay in that householder situation up till the time of death. Of course, as devotees, that is slightly different, because the devotee is transcendental to these divisions. So even if a devotee is in advanced age, is still in the householder situation, but he is fully Krishna conscious. Doesn't matter which situation one is in, but generally the tendency is there after, in an advanced age, one gets renounced more and more, because you can see the trappings of this material world, and the senses have also become more and more blunt by training in Krishna consciousness. And then retired life of vanaprashta. Still the family connection is there, but the children are grown up, and we've seen it all over the world. People retiring, but they're thinking, now I'm retired, I don't have to work anymore. Now I can really enjoy my senses. That's not the idea. The idea is to cultivate renunciation in retirement, not to cultivate sense gratification, because the senses are not giving the juice anymore as in a young body. Is not possible. And you see some old men in the 60s, 70s, 80s who marry again in their 80s. The hankering for something which cannot be fulfilled anymore. So retirement comes naturally, and renunciation comes naturally too. The children are grown up in that situation, and husband and wife are still together and traveling to pilgrimage places. It's a different experience. All sex drive at that stage of Vanaprastha has disappeared out of one's life, husband and wife. And more of a friendship, a companionship is present. And they're together, still together, they're traveling, they're engaging in Krishna conscious activities, in devotional service, or going for pilgrimage. Pilgrimage means also just preaching together to the best of ability and capacity. And eventually, the husband will take sannyas. Or not, formal sannyas. But that's the idea of, it's not about sannyasa or formal sannyasa, it's about renunciation. Growing in renunciation and then being able to concentrate fully on the final chapter of one's life of cultivating Krishna consciousness fully without the distraction of family life. So it is not really advised to stay so much attached to family life. And once retired, and then there's a grandchildren, and it's never ending, never ending. And we're reminded of the story of the gentleman who Narada Muni said, Lord Krishna spoke with me, and he said, people don't want to come to the spiritual world. People don't want to go back home to Godhead, so don't want to go to Vaikuntha. And Narada said, oh, I don't believe that. If someone is offered to go to Vaikuntha, why wouldn't they want to come? And Krishna says, no, I'll go down to this material world. And Narada Muni, he can travel. He can travel between the material world and the spiritual world. He's free to travel. He's a spaceman, so to speak. So he said, go down. There is a gentleman. Ask him, saying, Krishna, Lord Vishnu is inviting you to come. Come, bring him back with you. You come to the spiritual world and see what he says. And Narada was convinced. Everybody would take that invitation. Certainly we as devotees, if Krishna came today and said, okay, Amrita Radhe Mataji, Amit Gauranga Krishna is sending an airplane, flower airplane. He wants to take you to the spiritual world. You're invited. Come. I said, yes, Hari Bol. We don't even look back. But if we look back, that's not very good. Oh, what about my family? What about my children? What about I have to go to work tomorrow? So anyway, Narada Muni went to that gentleman and offered him. He said, Lord Vishnu is inviting you to come to the spiritual world. And the gentleman said, that is fantastic. That is great news, sir. But, it comes, but my daughter is about to get married. So once she's married, sir, come again, and then I'll come with you. Okay. Narada, after some time, he came again. The daughter was married. He said, so are you ready to come now? Yes, but, but there are some grandchildren now, and I have to take care, and I want to enjoy the grandchildren. So come, once they're grown up, come again, then I will go. Okay, Narada came again. But in the meantime, the gentleman has passed away, and he has been placed in the body of a dog. And Narada said, my dear dog, you have your self-created duties have kept you for taking Krishna's invitation to come to the spiritual world. You didn't want to come because your daughter was not married. You thought it was your duty. You have to stay in this rotten material world until your daughter is married. And then you thought it is your duty to look after the grandchildren. And now you're in the body of a dog. Will you come now to the spiritual world? Will you take that invitation of Lord Vishnu now? And the dog says, wow, wow. I have to protect the house of my master. I can't follow your invitation. Here we are. Our self-created duties. And Srila Prabhupada writes in many purports and many classes, self-created duties. We think these are duties inescapable, but actually we have created those duties. So Krishna was right. People in general are not very eager to go to the spiritual world. They rather take the risk of taking birth again and again and again. Okay, we're running almost late, and we have covered the main points. So, any questions? Amit.
No question, Prabhu, but I think it was always difficult. When growing up, people always used to say about the caste system, how unfair it is. So, yeah, if they kind of understand the context of it, then it kind of makes sense.
Yes, you have to be able to answer those questions, or those opposition to the talk comes easily to the caste system, and people don't understand it. Even people from an Indian background, even they don't understand it. You have to explain. The caste system is not there. You're born into it, but Krishna says he created that system and is according to some modes of material nature which one is born with or has acquired, and the work one is doing. That is a true caste system, and not by birth. It's just like it's by birth. Okay, you're condemned for your whole birth, for your whole life. You be born in that family of a Shudra, and that's it. You cannot get out of it until you take another birth. That is not the case. If you trained, by training, you can elevate yourself. And who's providing that training? We are providing, as devotees, we are providing such training. Just come to us. Come to us. Come to our Saturday program. Come to our Wednesday program. We help you to rise gradually from the mode of ignorance to passion and to goodness and to pure goodness even. Devotees and temples are providing, or they're supposed to provide, set training how to elevate people to the higher modes of material nature and how to help people to go back home to Godhead at the end of this body. That's all what a devotee is about. Therefore, a devotee is doing the greatest welfare work in society, because a devotee helps people to elevate themselves, to not take birth again. What could be a greater benefit for people in society of going back home to Godhead and not coming back to this miserable material world, which is full of suffering and ignorance? Okay, Amrita Radhi, you wanted to say something.
Prabhuji, you just said that come to us, we will train you. So in this regard, I wanted to say that I know a girl, she's been chanting at some point of time, she even chanted 16 rounds. But she was talking to me just a few days back and she was telling me how she's finding it difficult to follow the four regulative principles. So basically, to get over the three modes of material nature is so difficult. And a person who has chanted or is trying to chant, shouldn't it be a bit easier for that person? But in this case, it seems that it's not so easy. So why does this happen, or what can be done to avoid such a thing?
Association, association, association. With a proper association of devotees who can control their senses, who are not influenced by the lower modes of nature, one can be elevated. Look, the devotees who have associated with Srila Prabhupada in the early days, where did they come from? They were hippies, they were drug addicts. They had unrestricted sex life, and they were meat eaters as well. But by association with Srila Prabhupada, of the pure devotee, they transformed into saintly Vaishnavas. And they gave up their bad habits. So it is by association. And Srila Prabhupada said many times, we have created these temples to give the people the opportunity to associate with devotees and become elevated. So that's the purpose of this Krishna consciousness society. And the purpose is that needs to be preached throughout the world, that Krishna consciousness. That is a training program to become elevated from the mode of ignorance and passion to the mode of goodness, at least, and higher. The training program, which we can provide individually as devotees, which we can provide collectively, it should provide collectively, but just see, one individual, pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, he changed the hearts of millions all over the world. So our first duty is to become pure devotees. And then we can touch people's life also and spread Krishna consciousness and infecting anyone who comes in touch with us. That's the idea. So it goes simultaneously. We become more and more Krishna consciousness, and Krishna will invest his powers in us. Krishna will work through us. We become a transparent medium. That's all. We have nothing of our own. What we have, nothing. All what we have is our surrender to Krishna. Again and again, continuously, and deeper and more and more. That we have. Then Krishna, with his divine energy, he will work through us to touch people's life and to turn people by that association into devotees and eventually into pure devotees. That's a process. How else will that prediction be met that we are in the golden age of Lord Chaitanya? And the process is so simple. Chant, dance, and feast. Prasadam. Chanting, dancing, and eating prasadam. Feasting prasadam. What kind of spiritual elevationary process is there in this world where you can elevate yourself by chanting and dancing and feasting? Nowhere. Nowhere. Yoga, complicated yoga, and complicated austerities. This is also the yogic process is there. But who can do that in this age of Kali? And we are living just a few years in this material world. Who can do that? When we have no qualifications and no discipline and nothing of that sort. So it has to be a process appropriate to the people. It has to be an easy process. And Lord Chaitanya introduced that easy process, Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam. Just chant Hare Krishna, chanting, dancing, and feasting prasadam. That will elevate you to the highest position, even beyond a yogi who performs so many austerities but doesn't surrender to Krishna in the end. Beyond the impersonalists who think they are liberated, who imagine they are liberated. Beyond all that, to a humble and proper Vaishnava devotee, pure devotees we have to become. Srila Prabhupada expecting all his disciples and all his followers and everyone who's taken to this Krishna consciousness movement to become a pure devotee, a touchstone through which Krishna can work and elevate the people in this age of Kali. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. But I feel, Prabhu, the process is the same. Some devotees are able to rise above and give up their bad habits, while there are few who cannot maintain their vows or cannot follow the four regulative principles. My question is, what is the difference between the two? What is the success factor? So is it that
it's a question of advancement. That's all. It's a question of advancement. We may not be able to follow the principles now. That doesn't mean we will not be able to follow the principles in the future. If we have determination, we don't condemn anybody who cannot follow all the four principles. But by association of advanced devotees who can follow the four principles, who have learned to follow the four principles in due course of time. And it may have taken 50 years to come to that point. So one may not be able to follow the principles, but one should not give up the idea. One must sincerely endeavor to follow these principles perfectly. And in due course of time, one will be able to follow the principles. If one doesn't rationalize it, or it's not possible, so let's not even try. No, that mentality is wrong. Just like Srila Prabhupada. He gets an order from his spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking language all over the world. He was a householder. He could not execute that order. So did he just put it aside? Oh, it's not possible for me. So, okay, end of story. No. He meditated on that order for a major part of his life. That was his meditation. How can I fulfill the order of my spiritual master? He never forgot it for a second. So in due course of time, his whole situation had changed. And he was a vanaprastha, and he was a sannyasi eventually. And the time was ripe that he could go to the West and spread Krishna consciousness. And it wasn't easy. He had no money. All the only income he had was from selling some Back to Godhead magazine and his original Bhagavatam, personally printing it, arranging the printing with the printers and the binding and writings, translations on his typewriter, and then distributing it in the market, one book at a time. And then, how can I fulfill this order of my spiritual master to go to the Western countries, spread Krishna consciousness? How is it possible? All what I have, of course, is what I have heard from my spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. That's all what I have. I don't have funds for the ticket. So eventually he approached Sumati Murachi from the Cynthia Steamship Company, a freight company who was shipping goods to America, to New York. That's all. Well, so he approached her and he said, "Can you give me a free passage? I get the order from my spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness and this culture to the Western countries. Can you give me a free passage on one of your steamships?" And she said, "Swamiji, you are too old. You go to the Western countries, you don't know what's expecting you there. And it's a long journey on the ocean. You will die." She said, basically, she said no. He was determined. He approached her again and again, and eventually he was so determined. And that's our example. Huh? If to be able to follow all the four regulative principles, it needs determination. We try again and we fail, and we try again and we fail, but we don't give up. We try again and try again and try again. And we're learning when we fail. Why did I fail? What did I do? And then we analyze why we failed. And there is a reason why we failed, by association with the television or this or that. And then we try to correct that. And we don't give up trying. So Srila Prabhupada eventually, he was just sitting on the doorstep of Sumati Maharaj's steamship, Cynthia's steamship company. And then she came out of office, and I don't remember how many days he was sitting there. And eventually she consented. And he got a free ride on the Chaladuta to America. So why? Because he was determined. He didn't give up. He put all his energy into that. So he got the free passage, and it didn't stop there. Once he was in America, he had one address of Mr. Agrawal. He didn't know him. It was a recommendation from someone. They filled out the visa application and. So he arrived. He was all alone. He was all alone for an entire year with no friends, no associates, no nothing. He didn't come on Air India with a red carpet and like so many of so-called gurus. No, he came all alone, like a beggar. And he didn't even understand what Krishna. He was just following the instruction of his spiritual master. And he wrote that beautiful poem. I don't know why you have brought me here, Krishna. I followed the order of my spiritual master. Why have you brought me here? He had 2 heart attacks on the Chaladuta. And he persuaded the crew to celebrate Jamashtami. They weren't devotees, they were just ordinary workers. And then he was there for 1 year all alone, and he didn't give up. He didn't give up. So, Krishna, why have you brought me here? But because of his surrendered and humble attitude. I'm just a puppet in your hands. That is to learn for us. We just consciously, we should pray like that. Krishna, I'm just a puppet in your hands. I'm not independent. I'm not an independent enjoyer. No, I want to be a puppet in your hands. Work through me. Make me your instrument. So Srila Prabhupada wrote in this poem, I'm a puppet in your hands. Make me dance. Make me dance. Make me dance. So giving Krishna full reign to work through him. And then everything happens. And then it's a matchless gift storefront, and all what he did was giving, well, first of all, he sat in Thompson Square Park, a public park. And all what he did with his strong faith in the holy name, he sat down there with a pair of katats and chanted Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And eventually he caught the attention of people. And some came and, what's that strange Swami? He didn't come like some of the earlier disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. They also tried. They came in suit and tie. We have to go to the Western countries, you Rabbi Babu, you have to adapt the way of the Westerners. How else will accept the message of Krishna consciousness? He said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going in the dress of a Vaishnava. I'm there to give them God consciousness. And yes, the people were attracted. And these hippie generations, they were looking towards the East. Oh, some Eastern enlightenment. Although they came from some Jewish and Christian families, but they rejected on that. They became hippies. But Eastern enlightenment and Eastern swamis and gurus and Eastern, anything Eastern, that was very trendy. So they were attracted. Yeah. A swami is in New York. A real swami. That was a sensation. And sitting there and he's just chanting, and so peaceful. So they joined them. We have these beautiful videos. They brought some instruments, and eventually it became a hippie gathering. Someone had a drum, someone had a trumpet, and they all chanted Hare Krishna. And then in the storefront in Matchless Gifts, they came. Word spread around. There's a Swami and he gives some classes. Oh, I don't have to go to India. The Swami has come from India to here. And then he cooked some prasadam for all of them. At the beginning, he cooked the prasadam, he distributes the prasadam, he did the washing up. After the people had eaten, they just left everything. And Srila Prabhupada had to do the washing up. And he did it again and again until people got some idea. Oh, Swamiji, can I help you to wash the dishes? Okay, very nice. And like that, Krishna consciousness started spreading because Srila Prabhupada became the Krishna's puppet to execute Krishna's order, Lord Chaitanya's order, the order of his spiritual master. So why all that? Because he was determined. So if devotees cannot follow the four regulative principles, just be determined. And there will come a point in time where you perfectly can follow all the four regulative principles. Be patient and be determined. That's all. Nothing more is needed. Sincere, patient, and determined. Does it make sense, Amrita Rati Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Maybe, as in, I think he has to choose to be sincere, I think.
Yes,
I mean, a
sincere
person has
and patient,
to choose
patient.
to be sincere.
It's not happening
Yeah,
from one day to
okay.
the next. We have to be patient also.
Yes, Prabhu. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Amit, anything more?
No, Prabhu, that's your question.
Okay, so we stop. Thank you very much. See you on Saturday. And please do keep in mind, Amit, make arrangements already now. We're getting some very advanced devotees coming on the 3rd of August at 5 o'clock, not 7, 5 o'clock. Very advanced devotees. We should take fully advantage. And Amrita Radhamadaji, make arrangements. You can come down to Leicester. A group of devotees, and not only Govinda Swami, but also Swarup Damodar Goswami and 3 brahmacharis or devotees coming along with them. And then we have Narada and we have Neera, beautiful kirtaniya, kirtan singer, and it will be a very nice program. So make arrangements that you can come, cancel anything else. It's a unique program. Amrita Radhamadaji,
Yes,
make
Prabhu.
arrangements.
Yes,
Huh?
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You're breaking up. I couldn't hear that.
Yes, Prabhu. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, good. Great. And it starts early and it finishes early, so you're not back too late. Why does it start at 5? Because Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he is usually taking rest at 8 and gets up at 1 o'clock at night and chants over 100 rounds until the morning. So he is a big chanter of the holy name. So you can only imagine if someone chants 120, 50 rounds, I don't know exactly, but a lot of rounds. If someone chants a lot of rounds like that, then naturally the purity and advanced Krishna consciousness will come. No question, no doubt. And Amit, you make arrangements too, right?
Yes, but I'll check my calendar.
Yes, put in your diary. Don't let anything come in between. It's a great, great opportunity.
Okay.
We don't get that very often. Okay, here we stop. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
See you Saturday. Hare Krishna.